Does your because the only experience I have with interacting in a 501(c)(3) was a couple of years ago. There was a few friends of mine that got together, without naming names, like a head honcho that now works at Gab Wireless, and a couple other folks wanted to involve my clinic in a program called the Living Well Project. And so
Hmm.
we brought Molly on as a graphic designer, and she just created this bomb logo for this nonprofit. And the whole concept behind it was behind the Living Well project, and the split off was going to be an app created that was called Butterfly.
Okay.
And Butterfly was going to be an application that people could download on their phone to essentially, through AI in certain ways, register the health of the information you were getting through your technology.
Ooh.
So if you were having and you can color coordinate the scheme however you want. Like we were coming up with all these ideas, like hey, and you get a notification like, hey, Kendall, you're having a black day. We can tell you're not consuming some of the best content that you could be. Maybe it's time to get outside, go touch some grass, like go get involved with this group. And
Wow.
it was this huge intricate organization, and we were trying to create this group, and the whole end goal was to minimize suicidality because it's a big problem around here where we live. I mean, I remember growing up, uh, in my entire like middle school, high school career, we had a super sad story, like one unfortunate passing of a gal that was anorexic. She ended up losing her life from malnourishment, and then
Mm.
we had another young man who took his life, and that was in high school, and that rocked our
Mm.
community. But you look around here, like in this area, and this has been going on for years now in Utah Valley. And it's like, well, Lone Peak High School had 12 suicides this year. Westlake had, 15.
What?
Harriman had like 16 suicides. And
That's current?
no, I'm throwing out like ambiguous numbers, but
Oh, oh.
it's somewhere like extremely close to that. Like
Is it
if you were,
really?
yeah, if you were to fact check me, in the high schools around here, it
Yeah.
became somewhat normalized to experience 5, 10, 15 suicides a year in your school. And so that's kind of like our big push on that. But so we
That's it.
organ
I hate to say, sorry, I hate to
no,
sound
no, no,
naive.
you're fine.
I had no idea.
It's bad, man. So that's
Oh,
where I
man.
wanted to step in at the time, and this was a couple of years ago, but we started that 501(c)(3. It's still intact, and we're still
Hmm.
registered. It kind of fizzled out because one of our leaders went on to take a executive position at Gab, and they're doing great work by themselves. But yeah, working in 501(c)(3s is really interesting because if we were to go after certain federal grant money,
Hmm.
we would have had to hire like a professional grant writer. Do you guys have like positions like that in your organization where you have like a
Oh,
legit grant writer?
yeah. I assume like it's its own department because Path
Mm-hmm.
was started in the 80s as a like it was a couple of I think it was a I could look it up on the internet. I forget exactly, but it was a
Yeah.
church. This is in Los Angeles. A church pastor and his spouse, and they had been doing things at the local level. I think like a soup kitchen and clothing donations and things, and they that's where it started. And then what it is now is it's the home base or the headquarters is in Los Angeles. That's our main,
Mm-hmm.
and then San Diego, I think, might be the second largest, but then there's offices in Orange County and Santa Barbara, Sacramento, and San Jose, and I think I'm forgetting one other city. So these are cities
Mm-hmm.
that are like, for whatever reason, I mean, we're not in San Francisco, but we are in San Jose. So I think that
Okay.
covers the area. So I don't know how they make those decisions, but being that large, so the San Diego office of Path has just in the outreach alone, like the front lines, case management, of various degrees of like, what I do, the outreach specialist, the case management or enhanced case management. There's all these different titles for it. There's almost 80 of us just in that. And so then there's smaller groups. There's housing specialists that work more, and then there's I'm field based, but there's lots of site based people that are different. Temporary shelters, permanent supportive housing facilities and apartment complexes. There's one small department of, I don't know how many people, but they focus specifically on veteran affairs and veteran benefits and things like that. And then there's a clinical team that's what they call multidisciplinary, and they focus on people that have been like in and out of the system for a long time and have a much higher mental health acuity. Like it would be sort of the team that was developed to address the groups of people that we used to send as a society to county mental health or to psych hospitals, which kind of they exist in different forms now. A lot of that ended, and so those people became like homeless and have been homeless since. And like, anyway, so they're people with more like clinical backgrounds and specialties and things like that. So that's just San Diego, and that exists. So there's many. So, and then in all of that, at probably the administrative level, there's different grant writing team. There's a whole team for it because there's so many different grants that do so many different things. And then there's new grants that are short term, especially in the state of California. So how this like relates to the average listener or citizen, tax-paying citizen in the state of California is that the last couple of months or years, there's a lot of news about, the state of California has spent 17 billion, 20 billion, billions of dollars on the quote unquote homeless problem. And now what that means is that's a huge number. Like it's not in my opinion, it's not a super helpful statistic to report other than it grabs attention. It's also accurate. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question on that, because in some of the sources that I look to, the podcasts I listen to, which are more like centrist, libertarian / kind of like right-leaning.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not on Reddit. Okay,
yeah. Right.
I don't dabble in Reddit, but I would say a lot of the criticism is Gavin Newsom gets $56 million, to end the homeless, epidemic, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And sometimes that's the word that's used, right?
Oh yeah, we could say that.
So all these millions of dollars are being poured into the system.
Billions.
Billions. Yeah, you're right. Billions.
But I hear you saying, yeah.
But the problem is getting worse.
So here's why.
Like what's your perspective on that?
So let's see how to. Here's what I say.
Where the problem's not solved. That's the quip that I hear.
This is
in certain circles.
Yes. Here is. It's a multi-layered question and it's a multi-layered answer, and here's what I think I can boil it down, although I'm not known for my conciseness. I can paint a picture that highlights both the truth and the problem and I'm a big silver lining person. So every now and again I get to, because my position was created 3 years ago, a couple different agencies in San Diego were identifying that more people were moving into the middle of San Diego and Mission Valley in the riverbed. The San Diego riverbed is a long stretch of low-lying wetland that runs from the ocean all the way through Mission Valley into unincorporated San Diego County, which is East County. And it's over 1,000 acres of riverbed that runs through San Diego. Now, I'm only saying that because a lot of people that have lived in San Diego, and I've lived in San Diego nearly my whole life, I didn't have any idea that it was that. I thought the same. So there's a nonprofit organization that is a group of environmental scientists that are the caretakers of all those parcels of land. I had no idea that it was made up of a bunch of different parcels of land. I thought it was just city-owned land because
Right.
I had never thought about it. So they highlighted some data, and we're tracking some data that more people were moving into the riverbed area because there's wooded areas and it's under overpasses and there's places where people
And it's
can.
beautiful weather.
It's beautiful weather, and it can be like if someone that so people that like are living homeless for whatever reason or for whatever period of time. It's an area that's attractive because it's relatively safe and beautiful. So there's that. So the removing all of the so the governor of the state of California, who happens to be Gavin Newsom, I don't even know if I have opinions on him. I can't. This is a different topic which we can get to. I can't even read the news. So you're a governor of the state of California. You have a large state that really could be it could be 4 different states because
Right.
San Diego and Southern California, San Diego and Los Angeles are so different as cities. It almost, you can't even it's hilarious to compare. And then the Grapevine in the Central California area, and then Northern California. So it's just this big, vast state. And so you've got this problem of all of the economic problems of having a state that's popular to live in. So, this is what I wanted to get to. Okay. I said I was going to be concise, and now we're 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
Our great friend Brad Packer, who is the master of asking just pointed questions. He said to me recently, he said, "So, let me ask you this. If let's say he's like, you're going to get a call from the governor, you're going to get a call from Gavin Newsom, and you get a couple of minutes to tell him what you need, what do you need? What would you say if you had the ear of the governor for 10, 20 minutes?" I was like, oh, that's such a good question. And here's what I tell the media if ever I get to. So the reason I get to talk to the media sometimes is because the riverbed area was this new area that had been underserved in terms of outreach. There was no outreach people. Like, it was just this area that was kind of getting missed. And so PATH created the position that was my position, and then from that time, it's grown in terms of of available resources to put specifically in that area. Here's what I want to tell everybody that's listening, and I mean this to the media, to the governor, to the taxpaying citizen. These programs are working. Period. They're working.
Okay.
It is a problem that's been growing and then got exacerbated before COVID, so we could probably say there was probably a huge spike. I don't have the statistics in front of me. There was a huge spike in the housing crisis in 2000, or the financial crash 2008.
2008.
Boom,
Yep.
boom, boom. I mean, if you really want to go into we could go all the way back to the history of homelessness ever since there was displaced people. The first big spike was the Civil War, and then the second big spike was the Great Depression, and so on. So things happen in society. All of a sudden, something happens, and then a large number of people are displaced in a short period of time and aren't able to get things together to become housed again. So we had 2008, and then we had COVID. At least those are the big ones.
Big ones. Yep.
So all this money gets allocated, and this is what we're starting to do now. We're finally getting our legs under us. So I've only been with PATH in this specific area, working with the homeless in the state of California for it'll be 3 years in October. And we're finally doing what we should have been doing this whole time. Which is someone's homeless has become homeless. They were living paycheck to paycheck. Something happened. Now, this something could be an adverse life event. It could be a mental health crisis. It could be a physical health crisis. It could be a tragedy in the family. It could be the loss of a job. whatever it is, they didn't have adequate savings and they're on the street, or they're dealing with a substance use issue, or there's a variety of problems there. But whatever, someone's become homeless, and it's hard to get your basic resources again to get your feet back under you. So, once you do, then there's a lot of areas now that are being funded that are like what we call wraparound services. So in terms of just like mental health counselors, case managers, people to help you like navigate all these things, that's a lot of what we do. So my caseload is filled with people that have been homeless for 10 years or more, consistently, chronically homeless.
Wow.
Being homeless for that length of time is should be its own. I mean, it ought to be its own, like the trauma that comes along with that. It's kind of its own like mental health distinction. Like it's not official, but there's going to be a transition period when a person finally does get whatever resources they need to move in somewhere again. Now they're housed again, and they're living a very different life from what they were just living. So in that billions of dollars now, has it all been managed well? I have no idea. Other than it takes a lot of money, and certain programs or pilot programs, certain things we're trying to figure out, certain things, you know what I mean? Like what's not happening is the old idea of like the welfare, the welfare state's not an old idea, but people that are dependent on the system for food stamps, for that kind of thing, like I have no people that are like in it for a free handout. Like that doesn't exist. Like there's the person that I see on the street at the local intersection that has the sign because they're trying to get a little bit of cash. There's always going to be those people. And those aren't the people that are on my caseload. The people on my caseload need help. And so the reason I want to lead with these programs are working is because it's far too easy to track the data of failed programs, of this doesn't work, this money was wasted, this money didn't do what we thought it would do. We can track negative data. If we're talking about epidemics, the opiate epidemic and the increase in accessibility of drugs, the potency of those drugs, and the rise in overdoses. So that's an epidemic. We can track that. That's easy. There's people in the hospital. Someone has died. We can track the suicide rate because that's somebody has taken their own life. There's a data point. What we can't track, in fact, we can use suicide. Someone that was in a suicidal state of mind and maybe even made an attempt on their life, and had it been up to them, but for some reason it didn't take, and they are still alive, and then they got into a hospital, and then they got the care that they needed, and then something in them changed, and they got into a supportive environment, and they got and their family, something in their family life, a piece came back together, whatever it is, and that person then goes on to live a happy and productive life and never has another suicidal thought again.
Yeah.
That's not a data point that we can track other than telling that story. And we don't always get to tell that story because we don't know who those people are.
Yeah.
So in terms of
That's
things,
a great point.
Do you know what I mean? So and I'm not, if you're on if in this conversation, in this podcast, you're the voice of the right leaning or conservative leaning person. And I'm it's even funny to say it, but like, let's say that I'm on the other side of that. I'm the slightly left leaning. Okay. But it is part of my job to say, hold on, we have also what we have in our organization is we have data analysts that are on us like weekly for accurate reports, accurate case notes, timeliness of case notes, because case notes tell a story, clinical notes and all of these things. And these are the service provided, and there's GPS tags, and we can map it. All the people that are above my pay grade are mapping it out and looking at it, and they're going, okay, and it's moving around. So you drive down, I can tell you all the day long, all the great individual, one-on-one, interpersonal little successes and even the big successes on a podcast or in a longer form, or you can drive downtown San Diego, and on certain streets, it looks as bad as it ever has.
Yeah.
And in that instance, it is. there's certain areas that are increasing. Like I'm not here to be naive or Pollyanna about it, but we can't. The things that now lead to success aren't as nearly trackable as all of the things. So when that's why I don't know how to bring this around. I think I'm kind of all over the place, but like one frustration I have with any media or any information, and I have some questions for you because I want your thoughts. It's like, I can't even there's certain things that I can't even talk about without it being, it's going to be like, it's too hard to get information. Wait, let me rephrase. It's not too hard. It's exhausting.
And to also determine what is truth being told.
Yes.
So here, let me interject real quick, because
okay.
From my perspective, and the gripes that I hear, and they are quips, is all of this taxpayer money is being poured into these organizations and nothing's happening. Right.
So,
but I could step back and look at that, and everything that you just explained was absolutely beautiful. You're working your butt off on a daily basis to engage in programs that, as you just said, are working. And that makes me sit here and ponder and think, and I'll share a quick story with you after I make this statement. Why is there such a larger influx going into the homeless population? When I look on Facebook today, and I have family members of a former employee of mine that are searching for her because after she left working for me, she vanished. She disappeared. And now apparently she's in somewhere around Ocala, Florida. The father of this beautiful daughter actually took plane flights to go out and find her personally. They had contacted me and asked me if I would be willing to share certain information because she was my employee, so that they could hire a private investigator to go and just even find out where she was.
Got it.
And I see the efforts and the money being poured in. So some folks, if you would say on the conservative right side, would look at Gavin Newsom and say, this guy's a scumbag. Whatever comes out of his mouth is just coming out of his mouth so that he will appeal to whoever he needs to appeal to. And they're receiving all this money in California and nothing's getting better. But it can't be left at that. And I think that's what you're explaining, is the work that's going in is what, like you said, what should have been done for years now at this point.
Nothing is going to, one of the things that's going to elicit the strongest visceral emotional response is anything having to do with money. Because if money and so like I want to go back to your first kind of like your first statement, because this is the other thing I want to say. Like you said, like, okay, here's Gavin Newsom as an example, and there's all this money being poured into all these social programs and all these grants and and nothing's happening. Okay. I'm
not saying that's my perspective, but I'm sharing the general right perspective.
Yes.
Right?
When what I want to say about that is, and not everyone that I work with, the more progressive people wouldn't agree with this statement either. However, that's an extreme. It's not just valid, that sentiment. It's extreme. That's also valid. It's not accurate, but it's valid, which is what in the world. What does that actually mean? What's somebody expressing when they say something like that?
I'll tell you real quick.
Yeah.
The frustration comes from I work my butt off,
yes,
and I get 30 to whatever percent of my paycheck taken away from me by the government that goes to these programs that are yielding, quote unquote, nothing.
Right.
That's where the frustration comes from, right?
Well, so yeah. So the other thing that I was going to say is like what I hear when someone says something like that is I hear what they're saying, and what I perceive it means sometimes is that people are just like, what's going on? Because most people I talk to, even if they're saying something like that, like it seems like we're pouring all this money into something that's not working. Well, it's not true that it's not working. It's
Yeah.
not work. It's not, there are certainly parts that aren't working. I'm not here to say I can't, because it's not one or the other. That's the problem. There's many things that are working. And so what the rise of longer form media like podcasts, for example, thank goodness, because journalism is a minefield. Social media is a minefield. So where you have a longer form conversation and we can see people gravitating to that for whatever the genre might be. It could be political information, it could be sports, it could be health and wellness. Like, we're trying to tell these stories and people need to get their thoughts out. Because the other thing that's interesting to me is when anybody, I've told you this before, people ask me what I do for work and they go, oh, you work in the health and human services, you're a case manager, you work with the homeless. That must be rewarding, that must be amazing, that must be tiring, that must be stressful. And then the very next thing they say every single time is, wow, there's probably a lot of people that don't want to be helped. And they say it so often that means something to me. And depending on the individual and depending on the context, I hear it multiple times a week from the altruistically minded, from the faith-based people, from the service industry people, to the hyper-conservative, like to the most financially conservative people that want nothing to do. That's all the welfare state. So everyone goes, well, there's probably a lot of people that don't want help. I don't know those people. I talk to hundreds of people a week. I have 60 plus people on my caseload and they want help. Now, it's more, the conversation then becomes an assessment and a triage of what is available, most importantly, what's the individual's willingness? What are they willing to express? What are they willing to accept? What are they willing to do? And what are they willing to not do? What are they willing to give up? What are they willing to sacrifice? What's reasonable within the context? So on an individual interpersonal basis, that's the job, the career that's funded is a person that has some qualifications and training and that goes to each individual on my kid. And we're constantly assessing certain people aren't ready to give up the dope. Certain people aren't ready to give up living outside. Certain people want something very specific and they're going to just wait. And I don't have many conversations with people in that mindset. I have people that are once they receive a little bit of help, they utilize it for what it's utilized for. And then they become, over time, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, they become self-sufficient. So any program, and this is something that Utah does really well that I've been learning about. There's programs in Salt Lake City, in Davis County up north, and in Utah County that are health and human services type programs, nonprofits that are funded either privately or I don't know what the grant situation is, but something. But there's a huge focus on self-sufficiency, getting people work training, getting people counsel. Like it takes a million different forms. Those organizations are thinking creatively, and there's people that are altruistically minded. These things take money and time and patience, and patience and long suffering, and patience and long suffering, and long and long and long suffering, and then finally, do you know what I mean? So that's not easy. It's not just like, well, there needs to be more affordable housing. Well, that's not that, because that's not an answer either. That's not even an answer that's sustainable. Yeah. And there's this middle ground in everything that doesn't even, in my opinion, now I'm getting a little like melodramatic about it, that doesn't even exist. Like, I don't want to be like, it's too hard. There's no conversation. And maybe this is too overreaching, and I'd like to get on this topic because I think it has bearing on everything that we're talking about. Then I'll shut up. This has been on my mind.
This is great because I feel like a douchebag because I know for a fact I've asked you that exact same question before. Do they even want help? But that's got to make you feel a certain way because of your experience. And when someone like me says that to you, that's like,
but it's not so, but you shouldn't feel like a douchebag. And someone in my position, you don't have the experience that I have, and I don't have the experience
No.
that you have. So both are true. So when someone has worked their whole life to build an entrepreneurial minded person that employs other people, and you've worked all these decades and you've been a tax-paying citizen, and you followed every rule, and you're like, man, I'm seeing less and less money at the end of the day.
Right.
And it seems like, it is like, we're putting a lot of money into stuff. Where in the world is this money going? Yes. Yes. What is also true is there's a harder story to tell, which is like, because I hear that question from people that care. I don't ever hear that question from people that don't care. I mean, I guess there are. I also don't encounter many people as conservative and as like fiscally and socially conservative as they be. I rarely come across somebody that's like, these bums. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that kind of doesn't exist either. Like,
Right.
I'm sure it does. There's extremes on every side. But the way that you learn about the other side to that is the way that I learn it. Is I have to work to see the perspective too of the tax-paying citizen, housed citizen. Like, wait a minute, man. Like, so there's no like, it's kind of like the example that I always use about our friend Tyson, where the first time he like, I told him what it was that I do. Because the other reaction after a while, there must be a lot of people that don't want to help. Another common reaction is, man, you're making me feel like I should be doing more. You know what I mean? Because most people are altruistically like, man, I'm not. I really ought to be doing more to help the plight of the homeless. And then I say, hold on a second. You're raising a home of 4 small humans. You're working every day, and you're raising your family to the best of your ability. And I happen to know Tyson and his wife, as we both do, and we know their moral stance on things, and the chance that any one of his children is going to grow up neglected. First of all, they don't live. His children that him and Heather are working to raise. You and anyone that we know, you and Molly. The chances that there's no neglect or abuse. It's not a fractured home. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, it's a loving and supportive home. Now, whether a couple is married or single, like whatever, but there's no, you're doing your best to to raise your children to the best of your ability in a loving and supportive atmosphere.
Right.
The amount of people that live in this world that did not have that, and worse, were involved in some really dark stuff at formative ages, that's the epidemic. All of these things that come as a result. So drug addiction, a person starts doing a drug and becomes addicted to a substance because they're trying to treat something. They're trying to escape something. And it could be trauma, and it could be any number of things. Like, nobody wakes up and decides, I really want to be a drug addict. I mean, maybe, but I don't think it's many. So that's a ineffective way to, you're trying to treat a symptom. Addiction is a symptom of something deeper. Just as an example, I'm not, there's a lot of substance use, and there's a lot of various reasons for that. And then substance use leads to financial insecurity, leads to homelessness, leads to illicit activity, trauma on trauma on trauma.
Yeah.
So that's all that is. So you like the way that we have understanding of from seemingly, and I don't think it's a line, I think it's a circle, but whatever, who cares? Is like, I have one perspective in one specific area, and you have a perspective in a specific area. Here comes the hyperbolic stuff. It's the media machine that wants us to be at odds, that wants us to be polarized and politicized, because that's the tribal nature of things right now. That's the tribalized information. And when we have, here's how I can say it. I'm glad that we talked through that. When there's any group of people in power on whatever end of the political spectrum that is trying to limit the true freedom of speech, that's a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
And we went through a whole period of cancel culture on the left. And now we're seeing the pendulum. We thought the pendulum was done swinging. It's not. So
No,
now it's a cancel culture on the other side. And both sides are using the term Nazi and both sides are using the term fascist. And you go into any comment section and it stinks. Like
it's
everyone's
brutal, man. Hey,
it's
and
brutal.
guess when that bomb went off last Wednesday. A big That big bomb went off last Wednesday when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And
So, yeah. Well,
there
yeah. Yes.
there has been a massive acceleration of even further, and I agree with you too, because and what I would add to what you were saying is when one group gets in power, guess what happens with power? Power corrupts absolutely, and those who stay in power want to stay in power, want to stay in power. One thing's used for another. And so from what I'm hearing on folks that you would call like even like at this point like centrist right is guess what, guys? For the last decade, this is what you've been asking for. This is what you've been promoting. So now when we tag a picture of a celebration of you cheering on Charlie Kirk's death and we report it to your employer and you get fired, that's what you asked for, you know? I'm a NASCAR driver. I forget the guy's name, but his dad, before the kid was even born, threw out a racial slur on like a radio station, and the NASCAR driver gets exiled from NASCAR.
This was something a couple years ago?
This is a couple years ago. This has been happening since, and I'm so glad you brought up the crash, and I don't want to be all over the place because I think we're getting on a pretty good topic here.
So I read, yeah,
But
go ahead.
2008 crashes. I'm in the middle, like literally in the middle of grad school. So to me, I was like, didn't own a home, was trying to rent the cheapest place I could. I was collecting federal money to pay for my graduate school
Yeah,
in
like,
loans.
yeah.
And so like everyone's freaking out about this 2008 crash and I'm looking around as a student and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on, you know. And then, you know, 2012 rolls around and there's this formation of like young Republicans for Americans. That was kind of never a group that ever got anywhere. And this young 18-year-old kid named Charlie Kirk starts this foundation called Turning Point USA. That was in 2012. And even I admittedly at that point didn't know who he was from like a hole in the wall. But as the years progressed and as things got politically heated, like into 2015, 16, when Donald Trump was running for president for the first time,
Right.
that's where this man came on the stage. And you know, I don't know, kind of circling back to what I was talking about was last Wednesday, it was an incredibly powerful day, I think, for a lot of people on both sides. One side is celebrating an assassination of someone that I look at as a God-fearing Christian. And we talked about this over the phone the day that it happened. I'm so grateful that you called me and we had a chance to chat about it for a little bit. But my perspective of Charlie was always that he was willing to go and open dialogue and talk, which is something I love about long form podcasts, like what we're trying to do here is being able to talk about ideas. And he would literally be the one that says, okay, if you disagree with me, will you please be the first one that comes up to the line because I want to talk to you. Let's have a conversation. And in a lot of the clips and the interviews that you've seen recently is like the one thing that he always wanted to be remembered for, if there was a legacy, was his faith in Christ and his faith in that model of kind of the built him the way he was built. I'm not here to worship the guy. I mean, the kids, I mean, he's 11 years younger than me. I admired him for the courage that he had. I mean, I can't even think in a perspective of mine, like, what if I had the balls to go out and do stuff that this kid was doing at age 18? You know, instead of grinding through undergrad school and then trying to figure out what I was doing with my life. It was like this kid had direction and he knew what he was called to do. And I believe that it was a calling from God for him to go and preach the gospel, honestly. And a lot of people found that incredibly inflammatory. So, floor is yours. I know I just shared a lot there, but thoughts, questions.
Hmm. I don't know how to. Well, okay. It doesn't matter what I think about. I'm trying to work backwards because I have opinions about what you've said about that individual.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to. There's two things. First of all, transparency, and I think a lot of people. This is not fact checked. This is my perception.
Yeah.
So I won't. I'll try not to be hyperbolic. The day before, up until the point of the news getting it, and I got a text message from my mom about it because I was in Idaho. I was in Idaho, standing in a lake. So I'm not making light. I'm just telling you how removed, how like jarring the news was.
Yeah.
And I had attended Utah Valley University just before it was Utah Valley University. I attended it so I'm familiar with the campus. I was there when it was a state college, when it was Utah Valley State College.
State college. Yeah.
So I'm familiar with the city. I'm familiar with the campus, like, and the area. So the news comes in. Did you hear about the shooting at UVU, at Utah Valley University? I don't even know what you're talking about. Not only did I know. That was the first I'd heard the news, and it had just happened. We didn't know that he died. It just that Charlie Kirk had been shot in the neck was the first news that was out there, and that he was being taken to the hospital. So that's shocking. And I'm talking to a few people, and I didn't even know. I'd never even heard the name Charlie Kirk. I'm not even like I just didn't know. Very quickly, a quick Google search, conservative. I don't like the word pundit. He's a podcaster. He was an influencer.
Yeah.
Oh, he goes around and he does these speaking engagements. Okay, so he's
he was an entrepreneur that started a group called Turning Point USA, and the whole point was to go around and engage with college and high school kids and help them understand, in his view, what constitutional republicanism really was, that was incredibly faith-based.
So
that's how I would summarize it.
I take issue with what you're describing as he was this person that was willing to have open conversation. Now, let me go. I'm going back to my lengthy disclaimer, which is prior to the other Wednesday, I'd never even heard of this person. Then I went through and did the Google search that probably everybody did. That it was like, who's Charlie Kirk? Oh, conservative guy. So now begins the wading through the. Oh my gosh! Like you gotta like clips taken out of context, articles.
Right.
You gotta find the, so shifting through this article seems to be more like give actual context to this person. He's just trying to figure it out. And then of course rising right to the top, especially on a platform like X or Twitter, is the more incendiary comments in recent years about. There was the one that like got a lot of run the first couple of days about like it's worth it to have we need to let people have gun rights, and it's worth some people getting shot to maintain that right. So that's ineloquent, but okay. I'm just using that as an example as one thing that was like, you couldn't flip open social media about Charlie Kirk and not see that.
Right.
And the other stuff too, the family, Christ, his dedication to his faith, his dedication to his family. He has two small children. So all of these things too. His outspoken stance on gay marriage. His outspoken stance on everything. He was not a person. He was very specific. Yeah. His outspoken stance on higher education. He was not for that, because anyway. We could take any one of those topics and turn a whole and we probably will. Okay. The one thing that I take from I'm not talking about him as an individual, the way he chose to set up what you're calling or what is being called open dialogue is not. His sign said, "Prove me wrong." To me, it's starting off combative, and I'm not afraid of combative.
Right.
I'm just not saying it was this like, "Hey, let's sit down and have a conversation." No,
Yeah.
he was taking a specific stance, and most of his clip-worthy things over the years have been somebody takes the microphone and he kind of makes him look ridiculous because he was smart, articulate, super fast. He had the stage. I mean, it's his event, so it's gonna be. That's not I'm trying to say this right. That's a combative way to begin a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a conversation. That's clickbaity.
Right.
So, what I'm not doing is, what I'm trying to not do is, I'm not taking away from whatever his motivation was to start that organization, or whatever his motivation was. I'm just saying the way it got executed. In turn, I guess that's a bad word, but like. I also, speaking of executed, I don't want to take away from the severity of the specificness and the premeditated nature of the most extreme violence that we can think of, which is he was clearly assassinated in something that was premeditated by a person that prepared. Like, okay, like,
and to that point, that's not even settled at this point. There's so much and so much distrust that has been sown into the media, whether it's independent media, podcasters, left, right, whoever. You follow Destiny, great. You follow Tim Pool, great. It's
what we should be talking about, what led to the shocking nature. One of the things that we should be talking about that we can't talk about yet is, why is that kind of violence even, how does a person even get to that point? We don't know the person's, so the knee-jerk reactions now of everybody on every side of this thing. And just last night, dude, I honestly lost sleep over this. If a late night talk show host can't make a joke in their monologue, and I'm not saying I'm not saying it was a good joke, and I'm not saying I agree with it, and I'm not saying, but if people are getting fired and silenced at a mass media level of speaking about a thing that is in opposition to what the government thinks, to what President Trump thinks should be said about it, that's a problem. I know what led to that. I know what led to President Trump. I'm not stupid. Like, that's equally as bad. So what we don't have is, we don't have a First Amendment. We don't have freedom. We don't have freedom of the press. We don't have freedom of speech. It's arguable. This is a different topic. Maybe the right to assembly is okay. Maybe depends on where you are and what day and who, and what side,
or what you believe,
or what you believe. Okay, so that's out. And guess what's next? Freedom of religion. That's the last peg. So
let me ask you this, because this is on point. I'm glad you brought this up, because this is something that a lot of people are fired up about, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what has actually happened to Kimmel. Let's bring up Colbert first, right?
Okay.
We already know his show's on the outs because of financial issues. That the company was bleeding millions of dollars just to keep that guy on the air.
Okay.
Millions. Like, we're like, literally, if you crunch the numbers, and we can fact check.
Are you saying that it was a financial decision? Because that's obviously not what it was.
Colbert first?
Yeah.
What do you think it was?
It was, he made a series of statements that were mocking the president, and then his show got canceled.
Well, let me ask you this. To that point, why do you think these companies are fleecing money? And if you look at the Nielsen reports on like the actual viewership of their shows, when these guys are getting paid $30 to $40 million a year to host a late night show, and they're getting 200,000 viewers per episode.
Oh, no. Like,
what does that do to a company?
It's an advertising. I mean, I don't care
it's
what
a
it does.
Nightmare.
Yes, I'm glad I don't have.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, but that's not like, and that may be true. I'm sorry, that is true. I'm not defending the fact that like it's an it's a dying medium. Like there's podcasts that get many, many more millions of views per week than the late night talk show. I'm not defending the late night talk show circuit,
Right.
or how it's been. I mean, it's arguably been dying since the heyday of David Letterman and the other, Carson and whoever. So, dude, whatever.
But my
But
point
that's
was,
not. That is not.
my point was this. Their medium was supposed to be comedy. Molly and I, when we were first married, we made it a habit every single night to sit down and watch Jimmy Fallon because he was hilarious.
Because
We
he used to
loved
be
him.
funny.
We loved him on SNL. I loved watching Stephen Colbert on the Colbert Report through college and through those years. He was hilarious, right? Jon Stewart, he started becoming a little edgy, right? Ever since all of these guys got into politics and left comedy behind, and you saw each and every one of these people embrace one ideology and throw the other side into the absolute ish fan, they lost it. They lost viewership. They're not funny anymore. They're not worth watching. They're fleecing their company for millions of dollars. And this is not an FCC decision to come down because the guy works for the FCC, is affiliated with Trump, blah, blah, blah. At least from what I've seen in the reports that I've seen that are coming out, not from right-wing individuals, but like legit Axios, okay, different other organizations are literally saying like, the report that I heard literally on the way home was that not only did Kimmel lie yesterday and try to tell all of his audience that the shooter was a MAGA Republican,
He was.
that has been completely debunked, Kendall.
We-
Completely debunked.
Wait. We don't know what the shooter was because
The acclaimed shooter, Tyler Robinson.
we don't know that
What the left is trying to do with this individual is turn him into a MAGA Republican.
No. I don't think he's a MAGA Republican, but what he's not also is a radical leftist. Getting a that isn't a move of the radical left. Even the most like Antifa activists, that's not how they execute their social disruption.
So even though his own mother came out and said we were worried about Tyler because he was starting to shift ideology and was bunking with a roommate that started to go through transition.
I don't think that has anything to do with it.
They were in a romantic relationship, and then you get guys like Van Jones and these other pundits on CNN and MSNBC coming out and just gushing over how sad it was that these two were so much in love. Like, have you not seen any of this? Like, they're sympathizing for the alleged shooter, which we don't still at this point. I don't believe that Tyler was the shooter, but to watch one side praise him and the other side kind of just like look at the information and be like, well, I mean,
Wait. Okay, wait, hold on a second. See, this is why.
There's a lot going on.
So wait. We gotta either put a pin in a few things, or certain like there's no way to. We gotta put a little.
Let's back up to the late night thing because I just want to put.
We have to find. We have to try to find. Well, hold on. We don't have to do anything. I want to find one common. Okay, aside from premeditated assassination is bad.
Charlie Kirk is dead.
Shooting people is bad. Like, okay, so gun violence is a problem in the country, and gun violence is bad. Okay, we agree on that.
Amen.
And that this tragedy would happen in a place like Utah County. If there's people that have never been to Utah County, it's impossible to describe. Like, it just isn't like a hotbed of political activity. Like, not, right. I mean, it's conservative leaning for sure. But anyway, it's not like Howard University,
sometimes
Berkeley.
referred to as Happy Valley.
It's Happy Valley. Yeah. Okay. So because when we're talking about the late night hosts and comedy or lack thereof and narrative,
They
I'm not they, that is not why they were fired. Like,
Can you agree that they all went political and that's when their ratings started to tank at the same time independent media started to surge? Can you agree from like a financial standpoint that that was a problem for them?
for a long time, it was because like for a long time it was super it was the popular thing. Like comedy is supposed to be edgy. Like comedy is supposed to challenge, is supposed to be comedy. There is nothing more unfunny than dissecting comedy. But they have liberal politics. They're on the big media networks, which are liberal conglomerates. Yeah, like that's liberal ideology, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, that is true, and that is not why they were fired all of a sudden because they lost viewership over time. They had these big expensive shows. That is true, and also what is true is that is not why they were fired. If they hadn't made comments that were contrary to the narrative of whatever the Trump administration thinks is the narrative, they'd still be on the air getting their terrible ratings for too much money.
But who fired them? It's not a federal job. Who fired them?
The
Trump didn't fire them.
The FCC is federal, and if whatever the FCC says goes, that's federal. Do you see what I'm saying?
Correct.
So I want to be really clear. I am agreeing with the points that you said about the comedy became more and more over the years not comedy, and it became this liberal political commentary. Some of it satirical, some of it had good points, but it became part of the liberal media machine. Yes.
And I agree with you too that comedy is always supposed to be edgy. You watch Dave Chappelle, he's one of my favorites. That guy, he pushes the limits on everything and he cracks me up.
Right.
But
but
it's not limited to one political party isolated. Kimmel, Colbert, I mean, tell me the last time they just raked Biden over the coals. Never.
Recently?
Like
or
during his
when
presidency.
Biden? Do you mean when Biden was in office?
When Biden was in office, how many times did they stand up and have a monologue just ragging on Biden?
When's the last time they had a monologue just ragging on Trump?
Every night.
Oh wait. Oh wait.
Every night.
I want to say something though. That's interesting. Wait, this is something here. I found a common area. I'm not even like outright disagreeing with you, but they gave Biden a hard time. I mean, like you couldn't like Biden was like all right. Let me say this. The reason Trump's even like the thing that started the whole Trump momentum way back when Obama was still. Do you remember? It's crazy to go back and watch the White House Correspondents' Dinner where sitting President Barack Obama, it was during the whole birth certificate thing.
Right.
He roasts Donald Trump for a good, 15 minutes.
And Seth Meyers in the same night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everything was targeted towards Trump.
Yeah, oh, dude, that was the fire right there.
That's when he decided to run for president.
It's uncomfortable to watch now. It's like, oh, they're being the arrogant, they're being all the worst stereotypes of the liberal, arrogant elite. And at that time anyway, it's funny. But it's not only is it one-sided, it's targeted. It's like the thing.
It's bully behavior.
It's bully behavior, just like the big moment in the first big debate with now President Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and Fox's Megyn Kelly was trying to go at Donald Trump about his comments on social media, his comments on Twitter about women being fat pigs, and he has that moment. His timing was so perfect, and it was so out of the box where he's like, "No, I was talking about Rosie O'Donnell."
Yeah, only Rosie O'Donnell. Yeah,
that moment to watch again is insane because the crowd loses their minds. They're like, ugh. It was like this weird kind of sickening but in a good way. Like finally, this like there's this person that is this politician that he talks just like everybody does. Like it's like, oh, finally somebody's like not on script in this weird sort of robotic, nothing sort of.
Right.
Those moments are crazy. But so going back to the liberal, arrogant, erudite, like we're talking the talking down, the who this outside, who's he thinking, and they're just coming at him. And it's the president. It's President Obama going just straight roasting him. Like and Seth Meyers, like that's you're supposed to do that. Like at that time, like that's fine. But that's uncomfortable, dude. It's crazy. So that to me is as bad as what's happened. Like not I don't like bad and good, but like
So let me just ask
damaging.
you this real quick.
Yeah.
Do you think like was it at that point in time when Donald said, "That's it. I'm doing this. I'm running for president," that the late night upon his presidency in 2016 when he was actually elected, shocking, like Hillary was supposed to win 99, to 1.
And
And then and then
everybody was just shocked.
and then all of a sudden Donald Trump is president. Like do you not see, because that's how I see it. Do you not see that there was a massive transition of just we're all going to become political now. The
Oh
target's
yeah.
been put on the back.
Yes.
That's when I stopped watching Kimmel and Fallon and all them, because I would have
Yes.
liked to have continued to watch them, but it became unwatchable because they weren't funny anymore.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I agree.
And hence, do you feel like that could have, in some degree, led to their demise of what we're seeing right now, of
If
them
that was
losing their jobs?
if that was the case, that would have happened years ago because they've been losing money and viewership they've been like for years.
Right.
That's not the reason that they were fired in this concentrated, like I think President Trump from the beginning of the year has it out for everybody. And there's two things that we're not doing. What we're not doing is we're losing our ability to talk about it freely. And what we're not doing on our side, the let's call it the non-President Trump side, whatever. Like we have to start taking accountability collectively for how we fed into that.
Right.
Like
Because
everybody.
it's to your point. The media is doing this on purpose, and I think there's a reason why even Donald Trump, and I would fully agree with this, it does not help his cause in any way, shape, or form when he truths or sends a tweet out or an X, whatever X post you want to call it, and he says stuff like, "That incredibly unfunny, dumb Kimmel is glad he's lost his job." The whole, and that, like, how's that gonna help anything? Like,
Okay,
so
and more specifically, here's something else that's super interesting. I'm in I don't want to take it's like almost immediately the day that Charlie Kirk, that when the news came out that he had died and that he was and that we were starting to grapple with the truth that this person was assassinated. And then we start using the word martyr, and I don't agree with that. We can talk about it. I'm just telling you that almost immediately, then the federal mandate to lower all the flags to half-mast. When do we? That's a need. That's a reaction to. That's an attempt to politicize that. That's a if Donald Trump can, if the Trump administration can do anything, they can capitalize on a moment and monetize a moment and ride the wave. Dude, that's a problem. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have the flags at half-mast, but we don't.
Yeah, let's take away the word martyr, and if you just substitute that for political assassination, would that warrant flags at half-mast?
I don't.
Whether
If we don't,
whether it was a Democrat or a Republican,
we
one
don't get
side
to
or
use the
other.
word. We don't get to use the word assassination because, and this is the other thing we haven't got back to yet. We're not even sure that we believe that what's his name, Tyler Robinson. We're not even sure that we believe that he's the shooter. right?
Correct. But that's something I will strongly disagree with, and I firmly will stand on the hill that that was absolutely a political assassination. Whether who did it, there's even speculation. I mean, this is wild stuff that you're hearing from left, right, center, and
All
it's like,
sides, all sides.
could it have been that he was turning against? And I don't want to even go down this rabbit hole, but these are some of the thoughts that are going out.
Right.
Was it because he literally met a few weeks ago with Bibi Netanyahu in Israel and decided that he was not going to stand up as in his personage as a supporter for Israel, right? So he goes
Oh, you're saying
anti-Israel,
Charlie Kirk was
right?
anti-Israel. Okay.
So is there assassination attempt at that point? The fact of the matter that he goes on a college campus in his position as the CEO of Turning Point USA, which is a political activation group, I'm not ashamed to say that for the Republican side,
Yeah.
and he gets murdered in cold blood, that like by the definition has to be political assassination, no matter
But
who
we
did it.
don't. But whoever the shooter was, what we do. Let's even say that it was this person. Is it Tyler? Let's say
Tyler.
it's this Tyler kid. Let's just say that because we don't. That's the known for now. We still don't know his motives. We don't actually
Amen.
know his motives and his level of training, what led to him having access to a gun like that at 200 yards. We don't. Okay, so whatever. We don't know. So
Right.
and I'm not trying to get into semantics about martyr assassination, other than those words imply there's intent, and so we don't know his intent, other than because what you and I talked about the night that we talked that Wednesday night was in recent history. It doesn't fall under like. It doesn't fall under January 6th rioting, and it doesn't fall under mass school shooting, and it doesn't fall under the closest thing that we have is like the Kennedy assassination, because it was this targeted. So that's why I can't say comfortable, but
Reagan was shot at, MLK was shot at. These are individuals that are targeted for whatever reason.
but even Reagan was like close range and it was this like raving maniac with a handgun.
Right.
And
That's
I don't
now
know,
walking free.
and I don't know enough about, off the top of my head, I don't know enough about there was the assassination of Malcolm X, which was
Malcolm X, yep.
which was I'm just saying, like, in terms, I'm kind of coming at it from a point of like the way like that was a close range thing in a crowded space.
Yeah.
But a distance targeted thing was the only time recent. Oh, we forget about this. Last year there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump.
Yeah, in the
Shooter
summer.
from a
Butler,
long on a
Pennsylvania.
roof.
Yeah.
Shooter on a roof with a high powered long range sniper rifle. And that's crazy
Yeah.
that we don't talk about that. We don't even remember that person. You might. Do you remember that person's name? Nothing. It doesn't. I don't want to get like. It doesn't matter. It's not like a gotcha.
No,
thing.
it's not the name,
Because I
but
don't. I have no idea either.
But I remember that kid's face in my, well, supposedly the kid that was shot him. And that's the craziest thing about that whole story is like, where did that go? That disappeared 2 days later.
Dude,
Just
that's
swept under the rug.
Which is weird to me.
It's unbelievable.
It's
That
unbelievable.
makes no sense.
Because the first thing that you have to like try to grapple with in terms of disseminating the news before the onslaught of information, misinformation, social media, old posts out of context, Twitter posts, blah blah blah, is this guy was shot at an open air rally in one of the most innocuous, like, dude, this wasn't New
town,
York,
Pennsylvania.
right?
Yeah.
This wasn't Gaza Strip. This wasn't Howard University, whatever. Like this wasn't a revolutionary riot march like in Cuba, or I don't even know, man. But like this guy was shot in broad daylight. His family was nearby. Students were nearby. So you have to. So like I'm trying to even before all of this stuff, and dude. Oh my gosh, it's almost impossible because there's compelling points on all sides.
Well,
and then
the one thing I think I was trying to express, because and I apologize because I'm an emotional guy, but I wasn't doing so good that day. I literally just finished a long work day after trying to kind of wrap my mind around what was happening. Like between patients, I'm trying to check news outlets of what's going on. Like the first thing I see, like just so you know, like on the BYU crew when Seth was like, I would strongly advise you guys not to not to look at the video because it's not good and you can't erase it from your mind. I I was eating shamelessly Panda Express, and
Nice.
I'm sitting in my car with my Panda eating my orange chicken, and I get the text from Phil, and he says, "Did you guys hear what just happened to Charlie Kirk? He's been shot at UVU." And I was like, "Source, please." And he literally posted the video and sent it to me.
Yeah.
And I'm eating my lunch and I watched Charlie get shot in the neck. And according to like reports of like his mentor shared a heartbreaking story that you can dig up. Maybe I'll send it to you because it really is worth a listen to kind of hear his experience. But he was one of the ones that jumped in the SUV where they threw Charlie and tried to rush him as fast as they could to the hospital. So I'm trying to wrap my mind around this whole thing, and my day finishes. Carson calls me literally like 2 minutes like after I wrap. It's like he just knew he had to call me. And then right after I finish my call with Carson, you call me. And so like through tears, I'm like trying to still like decompress and wrap my mind around this, because the one thing that I was trying to express through my emotion was, as bad as things have been and as close as we have all seen, there's agree or disagree with me, you tell me, there's been a civil conflict like that's been very strong up until this point, and it's only things like this that are going to push us into a legitimate civil war. And there's so many pundits that talk about that are now dropping this word or this phrase, civil war, that and we're on to the fourth turning. I know we've talked a little bit about that before. Like this is a time frame in history where after the Revolutionary War, then the Civil War, and then World War II, we're in a position right now where civil war is likely going to happen, and it makes me feel unsettled because I don't like that. This is nothing good is going to come from this.
Well,
Unless you see anything good coming from the climate as it is right now.
I think that we've already been in civil war because when we even invoke the phrase civil war, what we're talking about is military. That's a military term, at least up to this point. That's the only context we have for it. We have the American
Right.
Civil War. We have civil wars that occur in other nations and things like that. So when we say civil war, we're talking about I have my side and my guns and my weapons, and I'm coming and I'm trained to a certain level, or I'm motivated and I'm coming for your side and your side's coming for my side, and we're pointing our guns now. So when we say civil war, but there's a different kind of war which we've already been in. So the very fact that, I mean, the guns are already out. So the guns are out, and they've been
Yeah.
out. And now this just happens to be a very specific type of gun violence, but the guns have been out. And the other thing that I don't think is helpful, because it takes away from the other tragedies, is I don't know what the term is, but it's like it's a distraction, or it's a shoot.
False flag.
It's not false flag, but like what isn't helpful is people are saying this is a tragedy, Charlie Kirk, and it's everyone's posting about it, and the media's got no run on the school shooting that took place that day in Colorado, and then these two young black men in the South that were found hanging from a tree, like and or any skirmish or any military action in Ukraine or in Gaza or in whatever. Like I don't feel that we can't also take, just because the media is not deciding to run those stories and talk about them. People can only post about I can only post about what my news feed is flooded with, unless I go dig.
Yeah.
So I didn't know about the two black teenagers that were found hanging from a tree. And so someone told me about it. I didn't know about Charlie Kirk. I found out about Charlie Kirk's assassination because somebody texted me about it. And then I
Yeah.
try to wade through the information, and then I want to read about the school shooting in Colorado, and then I want to get information on Ukraine, or any of the other violent things happening that are
All over the world.
all politically divisive. So we're in a global civil war in that sense.
Yeah.
It can't be anything less. We're in civil war right now. Like, I have a
I
very
agree. I
you have
agree
a
with you.
very you have a very strong and valid stance, and I have a very strong and valid stance. And the war that's coming for our dialogue on just, never mind censorship and all this, but like, we have to talk. Like, how are we ever gonna find, like, and then also process, like, the fact, like, that happened literally in your backyard too.
Yeah.
You live 10 minutes.
That was a big hard part of the whole thing.
Your
Because I would have been there if I didn't have to be at work. I honestly would have gone to the event just to observe, because I've only seen things online and it was in my backyard. I would have gone.
in your backyard, in the neighborhood, in the same practically zip code where your children go to school, and many other people's children. And okay, so that's like, oh, this is like, it's shocking. And then what isn't helpful then is if the other side is like, well, there's violence like this in the inner city every day and no one ever talks about it. Okay, yes. Should we be talking about it? Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. And we are. So that is also valid in terms of the reaction. It's as valid as, like, where's all my money going to this homeless problem? Because I'm still seeing mini skid rows all around where I live. Where's this money going? It's not working. Okay. Well, so we have, and both reactions are valid. But when we start going, like, I mean, the Civil War is happening, is my point. Like, that's it's happening. And this, what do you do when, like, there's the old saying about the devil, like, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to convince the world he
that's a great clip.
doesn't exist. Yeah, like, I think, dude, I mean, I think sometimes, like the devil is like, I think the devil's like, wow, I didn't even come up. You guys came up with that. Good job. Like, I think the devil's impressed. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, we didn't think of that. Like, we just started.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I've shared this with you before, but one of my mom's favorite scriptures to share when I wasn't getting along with my siblings is that, that scripture from 3rd Nephi, contention is of the devil. Boys, contention is of the devil.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing. It's being run rampant. One of the biggest things, I guess, I would add to that's bothered me most, and I'm far from perfect, but I like to think that I'm making steps towards understanding people and trying to love as many people as I can. I want to avoid contention, and when something like this happens, no matter what side it's on, no one should ever celebrate the death of one of our brothers or sisters. And one of the hardest things that I've tried to, and I don't know if there is room for me to even try to understand why someone would celebrate and cheer and, okay, guys, we got a list of people, who's next? We got Charlie now, like, who's next? Like, that type of stuff really bothers me. And I think that was one of the most unsettling things, even Wednesday when it happened, was to see that type of vitriol and hatred. And I know for a fact in my soul that comes from the adversary, that comes from Satan. That is devilish behavior to celebrate the loss of life, no matter who it is. I don't understand how people can celebrate the death of anyone. And I look at a lot of, like I said before, Charlie's not perfect. But a lot of his messaging was good. A lot of it was inflammatory, and then, in certain situations, so he's called, a bigot and anti-gay, anti-LGBT. But if you actually spend some time and listen to him, because I did know Charlie before you did, I did listen to his content.
I don't understand. I agree I mean, it's not even to be agreed with. You know what I mean? Like for me to say I agree with your statement means that like it's an axiom. We can't celebrate the death of somebody. Like we can't celebrate violence, and we can't. So the only thing I take a different stance on, I don't even like the word disagree. So I can't fully understand why somebody would have such a unfeeling reaction as to celebrate a violent death like that, because I don't have that. I find that sickening, and that's not even that's the best word I have. It's unmentionable to consider that. Right. I can start to contemplate what
why
has
people
led.
would feel that way.
What I don't know why they would feel that way. I can look at this. I want to look at everything, and I want to see my part in what have I done to take part in a society or a context that allows for that kind of celebration. What have I contributed to? Because I know what it's like to be in a much lesser degree. I know what it's like to be bullied.
Right.
And I know what it's like for the bully then to bully and the da 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 da. And so we've got a lot of people that feel like they don't have a voice on both sides, that have been talked down to and stepped on and oppressed and persecuted and fired and canceled and da 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 da. There's a lot of people that feel that they don't have a voice, and the strongest reaction that they can muster in the moment, that's the most like, yeah, the other guy got it. The other guy, one of our side got their side. Well, now it's our side trying to get their side. That's literally that's civil war. So
yeah.
What?
We're in it.
Right. That's where we're at. So now, like, the only thing that can ground me and make me feel less disoriented is, have I done anything? Is there anything in the way I show up in society, at work, in my friendships? Have I contributed to either side of that in any way? In any way? Like, and if I have, I want to eliminate it. Like, have I, in terms of like a person getting a gun of that caliber and even having the idea, like, let's just take it at face value because that's all that we have. This kid got mad, got a gun, had enough training with that gun to go and execute that on that day. That's a level of planning that's like, it's impressive in a certain way, and it's alarming. Yeah. Because of all the question, like, well, how does that even happen? So what have I done? Like, I have to go to, there's no side to pick. I can't be on the side that celebrates murderous death, and I can't be on the side of I can't be on either side. There's no side to be on other than some evil is corrupting the minds of most people are good, dude. Like, even the most conservative or the most progressive, like if comedy has ever been anything, it's like it calls out the thing that either I can't say, or puts words to something that I can't articulate, or it challenges my way that I look at a thing or a person or a context, if it's anything. So comedy's over. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we can't even now.
I love comedy because it's always been like a wink, wink. I'm right. Like, right. I'm gonna make fun of you, but there's like a sliver of truth, and you can admit it, right? And it's like, yeah. That's something I've loved about comedy over the years.
So the tragedy, the trauma of a tragedy like this, that's so quickly both celebrated and like, oh yeah, like that, like, and just like the what's the word for it? Callousness of that, and then the reaction on the other side. Like, this was he was just a guy
no,
trying.
the
He was
thing
just he was just a charismatic guy that found his niche.
and what I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this yet, but you're getting prominent personalities on Charlie's side saying we're done. We're done trying to appease. Like there's no more effort to be made in trying to get along anymore.
Oh, you mean like they're saying like wait, like you mean like the gauntlet's been thrown down?
Yeah, the gauntlet's been thrown. Like we've tried our best to be as patient as possible, and we've tried our best to, the joke is from some people I listen to is, something happens, Republicans should be really upset, and then it's like, hold on there, Democrats, like hold on there. And then there's a lot of patience that happens, and there's nothing that's ever done. And now to hear people speak up and say, we're done. There's no point in even trying to make an effort to make peace with the other side now at this point. That's troublesome because that shifts what I had mentioned previously of like the transition from civil conflict into civil war,
Oh,
and
right.
and it's just not good. But
But what do you?
here, let
Yeah.
me just tell you one story. I had a patient yesterday that came in for the first time, new patient. Um, and for obviously for sake of privacy, I'm going to change some names here, but on on the new patient paperwork, her name is Zelda. We'll say Zelda.
Okay.
And the name that she would like to go by is Zane, right? So Zane comes into my office and Dad's with her, so I'm sitting in front of Zane. And, Dad started talking about the maladies of this person, what they were going through, and kept referring to them as they. So they have chronic pain and they have headaches that come a lot, almost daily. They are always chronically fatigued. And I took a second and I just said, can we just call a timeout real quick? I hear Dad, I hear you using certain pronouns, and I want to be respectful as I can to you. So will you please let me understand like which pronouns you prefer that I use? And Zane said, he, they. I go by he, they. And I said, thank you very much. And the first thing that Dad said was, I really appreciate that you just took the time to do that. Um, and the rest of the visit was great.
Yeah.
Now, do I necessarily agree with the process of what's happening or the fact that Zane is sitting there in front of me that has debilitating depression and to the point of suicide? And now they're coming to me and I'm in a position to try to do my best to help that person. By the end of the visit, the one thing that I could express to them was, I can promise you one thing. I'm going to do my very best and put all my effort into making sure that your life is better. And I love you. I literally said that. I said, I love you. From a political standpoint, philosophical, religious standpoint, do I agree with everything that Zane is choosing to do? Probably not. Probably not. But I can still love and respect that person, right?
Right.
I don't know. I felt impressed to just share that with you, before we wrap up. But I think that that's a position that we can all take is when you ask the question, hypothetically, like, what am I doing? What can I be doing to make this world a calmer, better place? I think it's everything in that you're engaged in with your work, and I'm trying my best to do mine. But it breaks my heart to see where the world is going through right now. It's rough.
Right. That's the. Thank you for thank you for sharing that, because I mean, because I happen to know you, I know that like doesn't surprise me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, because that's the compassion. That's not just the compassionate person you are in your profession. That's the compassionate person that you are at your core. And so it would the only way like that story would surprise me is if like now it might surprise me if I heard it from I don't know literally anybody else, but because what I know at your what you one of the our one of our, yours and my commonalities is we know that the answer is at least the answer starts at I love you. Like the answer starts at seeing, like having you're picking up, you have some empathy and you're picking up on a number of things, both professionally and personally, and you're perceiving, and you want to make them feel as comfortable as possible, the patient and the parent, and you're like, and you come from a place of curiosity. I was once told that like when instead of like learn how to avoid emotional reactiveness, learn how to and practice responding with curiosity. You know, and that doesn't always apply in like outlying emergency situations. Sometimes it's time to act. That's not what I'm talking. Most daily interactions don't fall into emergency situations.
Right.
Respond with curiosity. Curiosity for me, and it starts at usually not saying anything. Like the more
Just
effort,
listening.
more listening. I had the this is like a kind of a lesser degree, but I had an opportunity today to sit with a client that I was with yesterday. Yesterday I was extremely reactive and spoke in a way to him that he wasn't used to. And it was a little like, it was the end of the day. I was frustrated. It wasn't like anything unprofessional, but I just was like, you know what? I just kind of told him off. And he was offended. And then later I thought, man, I definitely owe him an apology. Like there was no names or anything like that, but it was just like, wasn't professional decorum to say the least. Today, I had an opportunity to say, hey, I said some things and I spoke in a way that was unprofessional and not polite as a human. I like you. It's not my job to like you, but I like you. Like we've spent many hours together as you do with your patients. I'm with this person a lot and we get to know each other's like, there's a lot that we have in common. It's what led me to being his case manager and in a position to be working with him in the first place is we have these kind of like commonalities. And I'm like, dude, I was wrong. I was, you know, I took it too personal and I didn't take time to listen and take a moment and just breathe. And turned out, you know, he was frustrated too. And we were actually worried about the same thing, the outcome of his living situation, but we were coming from emotional places. And if I didn't say this to him, but what I knew about my behavior was there was a couple of things, I had a couple of things loaded, I was going to say bullets. I had a couple little jabs that I had loaded. I was like, I can't wait to tell him off. Like I'd let some resentment build up inside me, and I had not taken time to express myself and set a clear boundary. Anyway, we both had it, and I'm kind of over explaining it. He was super gracious about it. And he's like, no, he's like, and then I don't know what this means, but this is what happened. He's like, no, he's like, I was talking to somebody else. Actually, he was talking to his probation officer, but he's like, I was talking to somebody else and they said, and he's like, I'm really frustrated. Kendall just said these things to me and he's mad. And they were like, basically they said, well, why do you think he's mad? Like, did he have a reason to be mad? He's like, well, yeah, he's mad because I didn't do A, B, and C. And they're like, oh, so maybe he had a little reason to be mad. He's like, yeah, I know. So like, what he then described as the tough love talk, which I don't usually do. That's not my, right. I don't ever, it just doesn't come up. Gave him pause on some things. And he's like, no, I know, made him put him into a area of self-reflection that he hasn't experienced yet. This is him saying that. Yeah. Now we could have arrived at that point. Probably it didn't, it went the way that it went, but the compassionate side of me was like, oh man, I can't let too much more time go by where I need to take accountability. In this context, it's accountability because I did something that I felt was wrong and I wanted to make sure that he knew that like, you know, I was aware of that and I didn't like that and it wasn't right. But I was picking up on, you know, like because you're, what I'm identifying from your story was that this empathy, like it's got nothing to do with politics or anything. And Correct. The world's crush is gonna if it lets us, and we're not letting it, but it will try to crush that out of us. It will try to make us be at war, and like that's what's really going on. And so we
Yeah.
can't even talk about the ideologies and the ideas and the nuances. We're just in this reactiveness, and now guns are being like the war in Gaza is easy to protest no matter what side you're on, because it's on the other side of the world.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm gonna walk up the street safely at any time of night up to 7-Eleven and not worry about being like, never mind shot or stabbed, but like blown up.
Right.
Except now, like that's you know what I mean? So that level of evil. And so what counters evil is like, that's something that you have that I find very inspiring. And that's why I called you, because on that day, because you're my friend, and I thought you're gonna have some feelings about it. I didn't know how closely you had followed Charlie Kirk as a person, but like it could have been anybody. There was a assassination in where you live, near where you live. Like
Right.
anybody, like what? Okay, that's a thing that happens now. Like I would imagine, yeah, man. Like, yeah, but
The checking in just to see if I was okay just speaks the world of your character too, which is that amazing. So I thank you for that because I needed it.
well, and then like, we have to.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? We're gonna like disagree. We're gonna disagree with each other politically, and we're gonna disagree over what late night comedy is. And I'm not gonna take your phone call anymore. Like,
Hey, tonight's I think that's the fires we've got so far. I loved it.
I mean, I should hope so. Like, an
Right.
assassination took place.
Yeah.
Like, we better have some strong feelings about it. But like, we've somebody gave both of us a compliment. Not that we need to go out of our way breaking arms complimenting each other, but somebody said that someone that we both know personally was like, it's amazing that you are taking the time to have those conversations with each other, because nobody does that.
Yeah.
Nobody I mean, we don't have the time technically. You're busy. We're both busy with all aspects of life. And yeah, we've decided to, I'm like, we talk almost every week. Like
Yep.
we sit down and we record these conversations. And I don't care if it achieves anything. It helps me feel more sane, because you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, tomorrow's typically my day off, but we have the continuation of the baseball tournament that you were present to witness.
Yeah, that would,
Tomo-
yeah.
Tomorrow is day 2. If we beat the Yellow Jackets, we go to the Ship and we play at 7 p.m. So my day is going to be full of baseball tomorrow, and I love it.
You got to tell me if you think of it after.
Okay.
Text me the name of the whatever the league is or the game, because I downloaded that app,
Oh, Game Changer?
the Game Changer app.
Yeah, I'll text it to you. 'Cause
Dude,
then you can watch us play.
Dude, the level of technology at the local family baseball game at the club, these kids playing baseball,
It's
where
awesome.
the dads, there's the coaches, and then the moms and the grandmas and whoever, the fans are in the stands. Someone's keeping the score. Everybody can follow on the app. You got one mom that's the walkout music person, and then the other team has this. Everyone's got a Bluetooth speaker, and
It's
like,
awesome.
dude, I was.
Did you have fun? Did you
It
enjoy
made my whole like week. I don't know how my friend felt about it. I think she enjoyed the fact that we were enjoying it, but
That's
like,
awesome.
because she's a good person like that. But I was like over the moon. That was
That's
amazing.
awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to see that.
So fun. I'm glad you came out. You got to stay with me one night. We had a good chat when you were here. That was fun. So anytime doors are open, you got a bed to sleep in. So
Man. Yeah, I'm not shying away from reading about this. I want to read all sides, dude. I want to find well, I don't know if I don't think I'll arrive, but the I'm not afraid to read about this. The challenging opinions and like, dude, I'm looking for the truth. We're looking
Yeah.
for that's what you know what I mean?
That's the whole point of what we're doing. And it hasn't been found yet. That I'm confident of. So we'll fight through it and keep talking about it.
Yeah.
Because truth trumps everything,
Yeah.
right? Light defeats dark, but dark is necessary. So we'll keep
Yeah.
pushing through.
Yeah.
All right, brother. I'm
All
going
right.
to bed. Love you.
Love you, brother.
Love you, brother.
All right.
Talk later.
Talk to you later.